Welcome to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries. Tonight, we descend, not into fantasy, not into imagined horrors, but into the very real underworld carved by human hands. Beneath our feet, beneath the streets we walk every day, lie vast labyrinths, some forgotten, some sealed, some still waiting. They were dug for safety, for worship, for survival, and sometimes for reasons lost entirely to history. But what they all share is this: once you step inside, the light of the surface world feels like a memory. The air thickens, the silence presses, and the deeper you go, the more you realize. The earth remembers. So, settle in, and let us journey together into the lost labyrinths beneath cities. Humanity has always been drawn below. From the earliest caves decorated with Paleolithic art to elaborate ritual chambers, the underground offered protection, mystery, and a connection to something beyond ordinary life. But as cities grew, so too did their hidden counterparts. Beneath the foundations of civilization, networks of passageways, tunnels, and chambers spread like secret veins, each with its own story of power, survival, and sometimes death. We begin in Paris, perhaps the most famous descent of all. Beneath the glittering city of Paris, tourists walk unaware over more than 200 miles of tunnels. They were not originally carved for the dead. These were limestone quarries, dating back to the Roman era. Their stone blocks lifted to construct cathedrals, bridges, and palaces. By the 18th century, the network had become a sprawling honeycomb, unstable and prone to collapse. Meanwhile, above ground, Paris faced a crisis. Cemeteries were overflowing. The cemetery of the innocents had been used for centuries, until corpses stacked so high that walls bulged and bones spilled into neighboring houses. The stench was unbearable. Disease spread. In 1786, the solution was decided. The dead would be moved underground. By torchlight, wagons carried bones into the abandoned quarries. Workers stacked them with grim precision, femurs and skulls arranged into walls, decorative patterns, endless corridors of mortality. What began as a practical solution became an ossuary containing the remains of more than 6 million Parisians. The catacombs are open in part today, lit and curated for visitors. But beyond the sanctioned routes lies the forbidden zone, endless dark passages, unlit, unstable. Police patrols have chased so-called cataphiles, who sneak inside to map, explore, or hold clandestine gatherings. In those stretches, the air grows still, and silence presses in with an almost physical weight. If your lantern dies, you are swallowed. Orientation vanishes, and the knowledge presses on you. Above is Paris, vibrant, noisy, alive. Here below are 6 million reminders that life is only temporary. From Paris, we travel to Turkey. Deep beneath the volcanic landscape of Cappadocia lies Derinkuyu, an underground city carved into soft rock. Unlike the Paris Catacombs, this was not made for the dead, but for the living. Derinkuyu descends 11 levels, reaching more than 280 feet into the ground. Entire communities once thrived here. Archaeologists believe as many as 20,000 people could shelter within its walls, along with livestock and food supplies. There were wells, ventilation shafts, wine presses, stables, and chapels. Circular stone doors, weighing half a ton, could be rolled into place to seal tunnels in case of attack. The origins of Derinkuyu are debated. Some believe the Phrygians began it around the 8th century BCE, later expanded during Byzantine times. Whoever its architects, the purpose was clear: refuge. Invaders swept through Cappadocia for millennia. Persians, Romans, Arabs, Mongols. In these times, entire populations vanished beneath the earth, sealing themselves away for weeks, sometimes months, until danger passed. Imagine descending with your family, torches flickering on rock walls, hearing the grinding of the great stone doors sealing behind you. Imagine the silence once the invaders rode past above, while you lived in the echoing dark, never knowing if the sound of footsteps would be friend or enemy. The labyrinth was safety, but also confinement. Far to the north, beneath Scotland's capital, lie the Edinburgh Vaults. In the late 18th century, as the city grew, arches were built to support the South Bridge. Beneath them, a warren of chambers took shape. At first, they housed workshops, taverns, and storage rooms. But water seeped in, light was scarce, and conditions grew unbearable. The poor and desperate took shelter here. Soon, the vaults became infamous. Smugglers, thieves, and brothel keepers moved in. Stories circulated of murders, of bodies disappearing into the shadows. Historians believe even the infamous body snatchers Burke and Hare may have prowled the vaults, looking for victims to sell to surgeons. By the mid-1800s, the vaults were sealed. They lay forgotten until their rediscovery in the late 20th century. Today, they are a tourist site, lit and guided. Yet even in bright electric lamps, the air feels heavy. Stone walls, remember. Every arch, every chamber seems to carry the echo of voices long silenced. If Paris boasts 200 miles of tunnels, Odessa surpasses it. Beneath this Ukrainian port city lies a labyrinth stretching nearly 1,500 miles, one of the largest networks in the world. These tunnels, too, began as quarries. Stone was cut to build the city above, leaving a hollow maze below. Over centuries, the catacombs served many purposes. Smugglers navigated them to bypass authorities. During World War II, partisans used the network as a base against Nazi occupation, moving silently beneath the city, invisible and untouchable. But the immensity of the catacombs is also their danger. Maps are incomplete, often contradictory. Passages twist, double back, and collapse. The temperature remains constant, the air damp, the silence absolute. Many have entered without proper preparation and never returned. Even today, rescue teams warn of the dangers. The labyrinth does not forgive carelessness. Long before Paris or Odessa, Rome set the precedent. In the early centuries of Christianity, burial within the city walls was forbidden. Followers of the new faith carved vast catacombs outside Rome, mile after mile of narrow tunnels lined with niches where bodies were laid to rest. Frescoes and symbols marked the tombs, fish, anchors, the Chi Rho. In times of persecution, Christians gathered in secret within these dark halls. Prayers echoed against stone, voices hushed, aware of the danger above. Martyrs were laid to rest here, their graves venerated. Over 60 catacomb complexes surround Rome, some stretching for miles. When you walk their corridors today, lit softly for pilgrims, you can still sense the devotion and the risk. To descend was to embrace faith, and to risk discovery, punishment, death. The underground stories do not end here. In Beijing, beneath the city, rumors tell of the underground city, a Cold War warren designed as shelter, stretching for miles, though mostly sealed today. In Portland, Oregon, the so-called Shanghai tunnels once carried unfortunate victims from saloons to ships, drugged and sold into forced labor. In Malta, the hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, a prehistoric complex, reveals chambers where thousands were interred, with acoustics so strange that a single voice can echo with unsettling resonance. Each culture, each age, turned to the earth, carving sanctuaries, tombs, prisons, and labyrinths, each left behind traces of fear, of hope, of survival. Why do these places unsettle us so deeply? Perhaps it is the claustrophobia, stone pressing close on either side, the ceiling heavy above. Perhaps it is the silence, so total that your heartbeat seems deafening. Or perhaps it is the knowledge that beneath cities, beneath life, the dead and the forgotten wait. In every culture, the underworld has been symbolic of passage, from life to death, from ignorance to wisdom, from safety to danger. To descend is to leave behind the familiar. And once below, you realize the labyrinth has a will of its own. It leads you where it wishes, and it may not let you return. You have been listening to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries. If you enjoyed this descent into the labyrinths of our world, remember to subscribe and join us again for more journeys into the strange, the hidden, and the haunting. Until next time, sleep well.